I respect Isiah Thomas's talent. To me, the best point guard of all time is Magic Johnson, and right behind him is Isiah Thomas. No matter how much I hate him.
Did he want him on the team?
Well, I can't speak for Michael, but no, I did not want.
If you ever wanted to understand what real lasting basketball hatred looks like, you'd have to look at the story of Michael Jordan and Isiah Thomas, a feud that's not only survived for decades, but has come to define what it means when legends refuse to forgive or forget. In the world of sports, rivalries burn hot and then fade away. But this is something else entirely. This is about two men who became the faces of their cities, their teams, and for a long time, each other's nightmares. Although it's been over 30 years since they last faced off in the NBA, fans, players, and even the legends themselves still find new ways to talk about all the bad blood between Michael and Isiah, a beef so deep that even time itself hasn't managed to settle the score.
I don't mind Michael Jordan saying, I didn't want Isiah to be on the dream team. I don't mind, if Larry Bird said, I don't want Isiah to be on the dream team. But if Scottie Pippen say, I don't want Isiah to be on the dream team.
That's a problem.
Man, come on.
To really understand how things got this bad, you have to roll the tape all the way back to a time before Jordan was a global icon and before Isiah was the king of Detroit. Their first encounter wasn't even in the NBA. In the summer of 1984, a college-age Michael Jordan had just made the U.S. Olympic basketball team, a squad that history now remembers as maybe the best collegiate team the country ever sent. Jordan was joined by the likes of Patrick Ewing and Chris Mullin, names bound for Hall of Fame status, but back then, they were just kids. These kids, mind you, were about to scrimmage the NBA's best. Guys like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and yes, Isiah Thomas. The pros figured these college kids had no shot. But then the games began, and Jordan's squad embarrassed the NBA legends, sweeping them in every contest. Remember, these weren't half-hearted showdowns. You had pride on the line. Veterans like Isiah wanting to put the young guns in their place. Instead, Jordan led the way, proving he was about to rewrite the definition of greatness. Right from that summer, you could sense that Michael and Isiah were destined to cross paths in ways that went way beyond simple competition. When Jordan entered the league, he didn't waste time making his presence known. In just his third career game, he scored 37 points. And just over a week later, he faced Isiah and the Pistons for the first time. The night didn't start off well for Jordan, stuck in foul trouble and scoreless at the half. But he erupted in the second, finishing with 25 and leading the Bulls to victory. It was a statement win, but still just a seed compared to what would eventually grow. For Isiah, going up against Jordan quickly became personal. At first, he was the veteran, a champion, an all-star, the pride of Chicago, who'd battled his way up from the city streets all the way to NBA stardom. Jordan was the flashy new rookie, the chosen one with the spotlight on him everywhere he went. That spotlight, by the way, was something Isiah never forgot. It was in that very first year Michael played him that the infamous freeze out is said to have happened during the 1985 All-Star Game. According to the rumor, Isiah allegedly led an effort to freeze Jordan out, meaning not passing him the ball and keeping him out of the action, to let the young rookie know there was a pecking order. Jordan believed it, and the headlines only poured gasoline on the fire. The relationship wasn't just cold, it was getting icier by the game. But the beef went deeper, way past just how many shots someone took. Isiah was from Chicago. He wore that city's toughness like a badge of honor, fought for every ounce of respect, and until Jordan showed up, he was the one fans came to see. Once Jordan arrived, everything shifted. Public adoration drifted to the new face. Even Isiah's own family, including his nephew, started showing up in Bulls jerseys, a fact that quietly ate away at him. Both men felt slighted, Jordan by the on-court shunning and the whisper campaigns about his attitude, Isiah by the city he called home, seeming to turn its back on him. The elevator story only added to the drama. Jordan claimed he awkwardly greeted Isiah before a league meeting, only to hear afterward that Isiah thought he was arrogant. Meanwhile, Isiah saw Jordan's disregard for the NBA dress codes during All-Star Weekend, wearing his iconic Nikes when he wasn't supposed to, as big-time rookie cockiness. He erupted when the two teams faced off next, dropping 49 points on the Pistons and taking the game to overtime. For Jordan, everything was a grudge match, and the Pistons just so happened to be his perfect foil, a team that refused to let anyone, no matter how great, have anything easy. One rivalry-igniting story after another fueled their fire. Isiah would outplay Michael in a regular season game, dropping 35 and dishing 10 assists to get the win. Then Jordan would come back with 61 against Detroit, as if to remind Isiah and the world whose star was rising fastest. As the late 1980s arrived, the storylines just got juicier, the stakes higher. For 3 straight postseasons, the Bulls faced the Pistons, and for 3 straight years, Isiah's team sent Michael home empty-handed. These Pistons, known as the Bad Boys, brought a brand of basketball that made the league both love and hate them. They weren't afraid to be the villain. They created the now legendary Jordan Rules, a physical, often brutal defensive scheme designed to do one thing: batter Michael Jordan into submission, using hard fouls, relentless double teams, and mind games wherever possible. Ask anyone who watched those games, and they'll tell you that the Pistons sometimes seem to be playing a different sport. But Isiah wasn't just a part of this chaos. He orchestrated it, leading his team with a chip on his shoulder and an attitude that said, "Bring on all challengers." Even with all the pounding, Isiah never stopped praising Jordan's talent publicly, calling him the best he'd ever seen. But on the court, there was no time for compliments. Every Bulls-Pistons game became a war. The Bulls, young and hungry, chasing respect. The Pistons, battered but champion, refusing to give up their throne. And for every punch or hard foul, the tension between Michael and Isiah only grew sharper. But as the 90s kicked off, everything began to change. The Pistons, now reigning champions but aging and banged up, ran into a Chicago team at its absolute best. Jordan, ascending into another stratosphere, Pippen thriving as his wingman, Horace Grant anchoring the paint. In the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals, the Bulls steamrolled their demons, sweeping Detroit in 4 icy games. During the series, Jordan was brutally honest, calling the Pistons unworthy champions, saying their rough play, once praised, had become a stain on the league. He didn't just want to beat Detroit, he wanted to end them. Isiah, never one to back down, fired back with pride, calling his team one of the greatest ever, refusing to be shamed even as the curtain began to close. Still, it was the end of that series that would cement the feud in legend. With just seconds left in Game 4 and the sweep inevitable, the Pistons staged a dramatic walk-off. One by one, led by Bill Laimbeer, but with Isiah among them, Detroit players left the court with their heads down, passing right by the Bulls bench and refusing to shake hands. The message was clear: no congratulations, no closure, no sportsmanship acknowledged. The crowd jeered. The Bulls fumed. Jordan, in particular, was infuriated. Twice after playoff losses to Detroit, he'd stayed and given his respect. In his mind, the Pistons' refusal to pay the same courtesy was unforgivable. Isiah would later say he didn't orchestrate the walk-off, but by then, it didn't matter. The images were burned forever into NBA history. From there, the consequences kept coming, and the layers of the feud only grew more tangled. As the Bulls celebrated their first championship, Isiah's basketball world was rocked by his exclusion from the greatest team ever assembled, the 1992 Olympic Dream Team. When Michael got the call to join Team USA, he made his feelings known right away. In newly released audio years later, you can hear Jordan asking who else was on the team, because the guy you're talking about isn't going to be there, right? That guy was Isiah. Jordan has always denied wielding direct veto power, but the truth was clear. If he was going to play, Isiah would not be invited. For fans and analysts who'd watched Isiah make All-Star game after All-Star game, who'd seen him stand as the second-best point guard of his generation behind only Magic Johnson, the snub was shocking. The message to Isiah, though, couldn't have been more personal. You didn't know who you were dealing with. Even in the years after the Dream Team, Isiah rarely spoke ill of Michael in public, instead praising his enemy's skills during finals broadcasts, or reminding fans how tough and competitive their battles had always been. But in private, the wounds didn't really heal. Jordan, for his part, kept the feud alive in subtle but unmistakable ways. Interviews decades after that final Pistons-Bulls clash were still tinged with bitterness. Conversations about the feud always seemed to circle back to slights real and imagined. How Jordan took Isiah's local crown, how Isiah felt pushed aside in his own city, and how both men refused to yield even a scrap of respect after all the battles were done. As the years rolled on, the legend of their rivalry grew each time they crossed paths, physically or in the news. In the early 2000s, Jordan and Isiah could still manage a handshake on rare occasions, but the sense of distance never really left. Even their former teammates and coaches noticed. Brad Sellers, who played alongside both men briefly, shared that he witnessed the city of Chicago shift its love, leaving Isiah feeling like a king cast out in his own home. John Sally explained how Isiah's own family started rooting for Jordan's Bulls, a gut punch that added another layer to why every Bulls-Pistons matchup meant so much more to both men. And then, years later, the feud caught fire yet again, with the release of The Last Dance, a documentary chronicling the Bulls dynasty, but reviving every old grudge along the way. Jordan, still as competitive and fiery as ever, unleashed new verbal jabs at Isiah, calling him names and letting the world know that he still held on to the pain of that walk-off and all the bitterness that came with it. Isiah, never shy and never afraid to speak his truth, demanded an apology on national television, challenging Jordan to acknowledge just how deep the wound really ran. He reminded the world that he'd made things easy for Michael in Chicago when he first arrived, how his family had even showed MJ love on the West Side, but televised apologies and olive branches remained out of reach. If anything, the public's investment in the feud only reignited the old flames. From there, it was clear this was never just about wins and losses. Even as both men moved into new chapters, coaching, executive suites, TV appearances, the shadow of their rivalry always hovered overhead. During the NBA's 75th anniversary celebrations, the tension was still obvious. Photographers and reporters watched as Jordan and Isiah awkwardly avoided each other, their body language saying more than words ever could. For all the talk of burying the hatchet, Isiah made peace with Magic Johnson on live TV. He's even squashed beef with former Pistons and Celtics rivals. His rivalry with Jordan never found that ending, and that's likely how it's meant to be. See, Michael Jordan is known around the league not just as the greatest player of his time, but as maybe the most competitive person in all of sports. He's held grudges for decades, with Scottie Pippen, with Charles Barkley, with just about anyone he's felt has slighted him. Sometimes forgiveness comes, but often, taking things personally has been Michael's secret fuel. The same goes for Isiah, whose Chicago pride bloodied him for a generation, who never asked for anyone's approval and never shied away from a fight. In a world where most NBA feuds simmer for a few seasons and then fade into the background, theirs is a saga that refuses to die, kept alive by 1,000 newspaper stories, documentaries, podcasts, and late-night arguments among fans determined to pick a side. What you really need to understand, though, is that this story is bigger than two Hall of Famers not liking each other. This feud is about pride, city loyalty, what it means to be king for a day and then see your throne handed to someone else. It's about slights, some real, some imagined, that snowball over years of hard-fought games. And it's about how sometimes the people who push you most, who become your enemy number one, end up shaping your legacy every bit as much as your biggest triumphs. For Jordan and Isiah, their war gave us some of the most iconic moments in NBA history. Battles so fierce the league had to invent new rules. Rivalries so intense the echoes still ring out every time their names are linked together. In the end, both men won championships. Both left indelible marks on the sport, but neither ever really let go of the fire the other sparked in them. Their beef is a reminder of what makes rivalry so powerful. They force greatness out into the open, even when forgiveness never comes. And maybe, just maybe, that's what's made theirs the most infamous feud the NBA has ever seen.